Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It refers to two people, to three types of people in terms of giving charity. The first type, which is the strong ones, they're the ones who give out whatever they have without any doubt, any anxiety, any hesitation. And this was within the Sahabas as well. Not all the Sahabas were the same level, like Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, Sayyidina Umar. Sayyidina Abu Bakr came with all of his wealth. Sayyidina Umar came with half of his wealth, and he is Umar. And what will make you know who Umar is? So these three types were even in the time of the Sahabas. Like how we have in this day and age also the first type, the strong ones. Like how people are referred to as the Abu Bakr of their age, or Umar of their age, or Usman of their age, till the end. So in each generation, from the generations, or century from the centuries, there are those who emulate or resemble the ones in the early Muslims. And as we know that wealth, just as you know, is the most beloved thing to a person. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created wealth as a trial, as a test. And He told us to give out in charity. And He told us to give zakat as an obligation. And He told us to give in charity voluntarily. He encouraged us to give charity. For this reason, the Prophet ﷺ made charity a proof of one's faith. They say, as how Al-Ghazali has mentioned, giving much in charity is a proof is a sign of your great love of Allah and the Prophet. The more you give in charity is a sign of your great love of Allah and the Prophet. How is your love measured? You should ask yourself, how do you know this person loves you? And what we mean by love is we mean true love, not love that is infatuation from desires. We're talking about true love. If you want to know that this person really loves you, he's ready to sacrifice what is valuable to that person for your sake. He's ready to sacrifice what he values for your sake, like wealth. And even Habib heard from his Shaykh Habib Umar, may Allah make us benefit from him, that some of the righteous and awliya, even with their murids, the Shaykh would take on debts or take loans to pay off the debts of his students. Who is this person who takes debts for somebody else? Like a person may be in worry because of his own debts, but you find another person who takes somebody else's debt upon himself to help somebody. This is only something the strong ones can do, and Habib Umar is one of them. I'm not saying that because he's my sheikh, but this is something we've seen in him. There are a lot of students, and maybe we can say they're poor. There are a lot of students who are poor. They don't possess anything. Even their basic necessities, they're not capable of fulfilling. And they say, and they just come to seek knowledge. So Habib Umar sees in them truthfulness and sincerity, and he would teach them until he becomes one of his students, and all of their expenses are upon him, even if it's like a like a debt. This is why it is said the best form of piety is it's like you it's like to pay off the debt of one's father. Like let's say somebody's father ended up in prison because of his debts. So you say, take my father out and put me in this place, and all the debts are upon me. This is not something that anyone can do. So people would say, this is my dad, he made mistakes, why should I take the responsibility? Some people think like that. And this happened to Habib. A person came to Habib. He said, my father is is in jail, in prison. And Habib said, what happened? He said he bought a car, he bought this, and then he got he got fired, and then he had a lot of debt. And he said he's in prison. And then Habib asked the boy, what are you doing? He said let him be there, he deserves it. And Habib was like, la hawla wa quwwata illa billah. I mean, Habib said, okay, your dad wanted to enjoy life, he wanted to buy expensive cars and stuff, but that doesn't mean you say things like, he deserves it. Make dua for him, try to help him out, try to pay off his debts. If there's something you can sell, at the end of the day, he's your father, and you will get reward for helping him. So may we ask Allah, He makes us from those who are pious to our parents, and He pays off all of our debts with ease and well-being. And tonight, we'll cover the etiquettes of giving zakat, and zakat etiquettes of giving charity. Their outward etiquettes and then their inward etiquettes. And this is something really important, because people can give charity and it's not accepted. Person giving 1,000, 2, 3, 10,000, 20,000 in charity, and he's thinking, oh mashallah, I'm giving charity, but in the end he'll be surprised to find out that there was no reward for any of this. Why? Because of these five reasons that Imam Ghazali has mentioned, and Habib has added to it um, uh, six or seven more. So we'll pay attention to this important lesson. Bismillah. So the first affair is the spirit of worship. Just as a body is of no use unless there is a spirit in it, and similarly, the spirit of all your acts of worship, all of of your acts of worship, some prayer, fasting, the spirit of all of them is sincerity. The spirit of all of them is sincerity. So if there's no sincerity, then it's just like dead bodies. There's no benefit in them. And what is sincerity? That you intend, of course, sincerity is levels, but the highest level, that you do your acts of worship solely for seeking Allah's good pleasure, to please Allah Azza wa Jal. That, that you only seek to please Allah, that Allah be pleased with you. Whether you put me in paradise or not, that most important thing is that you are pleased with me. The least is that you seek, or what's less than that is to seek as reward. That's a lower level of sincerity, to get the good deeds, to get paradise and all that. This is part of sincerity, but it is there's no doubt in it. Also, and a lower level is that you give charity with the intention, like you give charity for the intention of alleviating calamities. This is a less form of sincerity. They only give charity when they have a problem, where they're worried, or they think they have evil eye done on them, or they got magic done on them. They give in charity so that to alleviate the harm. These are the levels of sincerity, but it's still considered, because the one who gives charity for the sake of shifa, healing, is only because he knows that the one who gives shifa is Allah. But obviously, this is not the same as the one who gives charity for Allah, that, oh Allah, I'm giving this only so that you be pleased with me. Because the other person, if he didn't have a sick person, he wouldn't give charity. If he didn't have a problem, he wouldn't give charity. If he didn't have a calamity, he wouldn't give charity. So, for this reason, these are degrees of sincerity. Then he says, the first uh, uh, level of sincerity, or the first etiquette of sincerity, is secrecy. Because one is the form of showing off is to say, I paid charity, I taught, I learned, etc. Even if you teach another person, you taught him recitation or anything, and then you mention, this is from my students, he's from my students, that means you're praising yourself. You see the student, he knows how to recite Quran, he gives speeches, he's my student, I taught him, and people say, whoa, wow. So all your reward goes away. You taught him for so many years, and then just these a few words nullified all of the reward. You taught him, but who taught you? But who taught him in reality, and who allowed you to be this vessel to carry this light? And who is the one who sent that child to you? And who's the one who gave you patience to teach him? And he made him content to take from you. It's from Allah Azza wa Jalla. So one should be careful. Obviously, a person is not judged for his thoughts, because a person being weak, he gets thoughts from shaitan. But so you expel those thoughts and say astaghfirullah whenever they come, and say it's from Allah. So for this reason, our honorable teachers say that when people praise you, know that the one actually being praised is Allah, and the worthy being praised is Allah and the Prophet ﷺ. And whatever they're praising is basically Allah's favor or benevolence bestowed upon you. So for instance, if there's a beautiful rose in front of you, and you said, how beautiful is this rose? What are you praising? Are you praising the thing or the one who created that thing? You're praising the one who created that rose. So when they praise you, they're actually praising what Allah has bestowed upon you from knowledge and etc. And then he says charity extinguishes the anger of Allah. Charity, specifically charity in secrecy, pushes away bad things, bad events from happening. And he'll mention also the times in which it is recommended to give charity. Then he says, what does it mean by secret? Secret means Secrecy means that nobody knows about your charity except Allah Azza subhanahu wa ta'ala. And obviously you know. And the one you gave charity to. It's true that the poor person would know that it's you. But the condition here is that you wish that he wouldn't know. Meaning you want to give a person something, but there's no other way except for you to give it from your hand to his hand, like something precious and valuable. And in your heart you have this uh, uh, desire that if there was any other way for me to give, for him to not know, I would wish that. That's a good thought to have. And you do not, and the other sign of sincerity is that you don't want any praise from that person, nor do you want service from that person. Meaning, let's say you have a person who prepares tea for you at work. He is an employee, he takes a salary, and then one day you gave him a gift or charity. You saw him, and then you waited for him, and now you're thinking, okay, because I gave him a gift, I think he should wash your car, or he should salute you whenever you pass by. you expect him you expect that since you've given him a gift and others haven't, or since you've instead of him giving you uh, tea, he gives you a faluda. This is contrary to sincerity. You expect him to smile at you with a bigger smile and salute you and wash your car because you gave him a gift. So anything that you do for that person and you expect something from that person, that is not sincerity, and the reward is gone. Allah says we don't expect. True, he will thank you, he will say jazakallah, and but in those states, and when he praises you, say alhamdulillah, Allah has allowed me to do that, and thank you for accepting it from me. Because if the poor person says jazakallah khair, then don't stay silent. You should, because that will be your reward. Then you should actually say, you jazakallah for you, may Allah reward you, because if you didn't take, then who would take it? You're the means for the reward to come. The second, or the high level in secrecy, is that even the poor person doesn't know. And this is something very easy nowadays, because you can do that online. You can pay off people's bills. Like for instance, you get an SMS saying your telephone bill is paid off, or you buy groceries, and you leave them at the doorstep of this poor person, and you go away. And then Shaitan still comes to you, and he says, "Oh, mashallah, you paid off that person's bill. You did that. You did this." And then the thought comes, "Oh, I wish he knew." Like a whisper comes. This is from Shaitan, because the Shaitan wants you to, he wants to nullify your reward. You say, "A'udhu billah." You say to yourself, as long as Allah knows, that's enough. So this is the first etiquette. which is secrecy. Then there are exceptions. The exception is to where you make your charity known, like zakat. Zakat should be paid openly because it is obligatory. Uh, it's obligatory on you. There's nothing special about it. But then when is it recommended for you to give charity openly? Is that when you're somebody who is followed, like when you're teaching your children? You take out 5 dirhams and you tell your child, go give that poor person this money. You're teaching that your child. This is not considered as showing off. This is actually teaching and encouraging and calling to Allah Ta'ala.
قال إنها أوساخ أموال الناس، فإذا أخذ الفقير منك ما هو طهارة لك فله الفضل عليك. أرأيت لو أن فصادا فصد مجانا وأخرج من باطنك الدم الذي تخشى ضرره في الحياة الدنيا، أكان الفضل لك أم له؟ فالذي يخرج من باطنك رذيلة البخل وضررها في الحياة الأخرى أولى بأن تراه متفضلا عليك.
This is the second form of etiquette, is to, and is something that basically annihilates the reward of your charity. Allah says in the Quran, don't nullify your charity by seeking favor or giving charity as if you're doing a favor. Like for instance, somebody says, um, you says to a person, oh look, I paid off your debts, I got you hired, or I made you successful, or anything of the sort, of help. You see that you've done a favor, even between husband and wife, and between you and your children. Sometimes between husband and wife there is misunderstanding. One raises his voice, one raises her voice, and they're yelling at each other, and then one says, who's looking after the house, who's giving charity, who's paying the house bills? Don't I go to work and I come back and I pay for all this and I sacrifice all this for you? And then she responds by saying, who is the one who raises the kids and cooks all the food? So true, someone people sometimes uh, want remind others, they want others to be reminded of a blessing. But there's something subtle here. Is it is it to show the person that you are doing favors for them, or is it to show to them that you are in blessings of Allah? Like you say, look, I'm giving I'm able to pay all of these things. Thank Allah that Allah has allowed us for this. So if you're doing this to teach them a value of the blessing, the value of the blessings that you're in, then you can say this, but not as if you're doing them a favor. Similarly, the wife, to show, can remind in terms of the blessings of Allah, but this is very subtle and it requires a lot of wisdom. It's better to never ever mention one's service to others as if they're doing a favor. You can say in general terms, look, alhamdulillah, we're in blessings, we have a source of income. There are others who don't have source of income. Make it general, make it generic. Don't say specific. And and to make sure that you are safe from showing off, you say look, this salary that I get is because of your blessings. This is actually your risk. This is your money. I'm just serving. I'm just as a servant, because Allah is the one who said to look after your wife and family. So it is a trust given to me from Allah Azza wa Jal. So it is for you and the children. So when you say it like that, then you're safe. When you say this is from your barakah, this is from your du'as, and be careful never ever to show favor to your parents. That's like, especially when they grow old and they grow weak and they're sitting with you in your house and they're eating and drinking, never ever be careful to even that they would even smell or sense a little sense that you're showing that you're doing them a favor, because when they grow old they become very sensitive to this. They don't want to feel that as if they are that they're that they are getting favors from their kids. And this is a reality. You are actually being given your risk through your parents, whether you are educated and you have qualifications, etc., etc. All of that, you are being carried forward by the du'as of your mother and father. Was it not for their du'as, you wouldn't have finished your education. Was it if it wasn't for their parents, you wouldn't be accepted in your profession, and neither would your house be open. And the opposite is true as well. If they were to make dua against you, you're finished. So never ever show favors to your parents. This is in Sharia. This is the Sharia, this is the tariqah, this is the reality, that the people responsible of the house, like let's say the men, they're responsible for the house. You're not the one who's giving risk, but you're responsible. Whoever is the head of the house, he is been given his risk, his wealth, because of the people in his house. Meaning, if somebody wants risk, then he should get married, because the shaitan comes and tells him, don't get married because your wife will um, cost you a lot. True, when you get married, you have a lot of expenses, so you should be expected to have a source of income. The problem is, if you stay away from marriage because your source of income is less, you you will find someone who accepts your uh, standard of living and your expenses, if as long as you're true and sincere. Even if your salary is 1,000 dirhams, do get married, but get married to somebody who can accept that standard of living. Meaning, let's say if my salary is 1,000, and I want to guard my chastity, and and you openly express your capabilities, and then the risk will come to you. Your risk, her risk, and whoever comes through you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned this twice in the Quran, even though Allah doesn't need to repeat, because one word of His is the reality. He says, we give risk to you and to them. Them who? As in your people of your house. Don't kill your children, or how the people used to do in before Islam. They used to bury their children. Don't kill your children out of fear of poverty. We and we give you risk and them. In another verse, we give them risk and you risk. In one verse, Allah mentions you first and then them, and in another verse, He mentions them first and then you. These are signs from Allah. But problem is, people have weak faith because they mix up. They spend time with non-Muslims, uh, and people with weak faith. They they're like they like dust. When you sit with the ulama, the people who know Allah, people of gnosis, they give you strength in your faith, and they give you certainty, and then the risk comes to you. So don't expect favors, or or uh, or don't show, or don't think that you're doing a favor to someone who you give charity or you benefit or you help. So so doing favors is anything you can do, like giving charity or any form of help, carrying a load for them, you to pick them up from one place to another place, you carry their goods. This is a form of help. All this is a type of charity. So don't do these as if you're doing them a favor to your spouse, to your neighbor, to anyone. Even you being present in the lessons. Don't 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 think that you're doing your sheikh a favor by attending his lesson. Some ulama, some people think, oh, the sheikh is poor sheikh, he has no students, let me go and just attend so that that's not true. There's no there's no gathering of knowledge that is based on unbroken chain of connection back to the Prophet ﷺ, except that there are angels present and there are Muslim jinns present. And we hear that a lot when Habib Umar speeches, when he includes in his du'as, and whoever is present from amongst the humans and the jinns. May Allah make us benefit from them. The third etiquette, that you give out from the best of your wealth. Allah Azza wa Jal says,
خبيث منه تنفقون وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم
اللهم صل على وسلم.
إن الله طيب لا يقبل إلا طيبا، يعني الحلال، فإن المقصود من هذا إظهار درجة الحب، والإنسان يؤثر الأحب إليه الأنفس دون الأخس.
هذا الأدب الثالث
this is the
في الصدقة.
This is the third etiquette when giving out charity, that you give from what is from the best of your wealth. That does not mean if I have a new 100 dirhams note and the old 100 dirhams note. No, charity means anything, like even clothes. For instance, if you have a new pair of clothes and you have used pair of clothes, and yet you have clothes that you can't wear. Most people give charity what they can't wear. Instead of throwing it in trash, they give in charity. That is not accepted. Allah is good and wholesome. He only accepts what is good. Maybe a poor person may accept it, and because he has no other option, but it's something that's not accepted by Allah. Because the foundation of charity is to seek Allah's pleasure. That poor person, the last thing he'll do is make dua for you. You want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you got the best, meaning which is the new, and then you have the intermediate one, which is used clothes which can be worn, and a lot of good people do that. And then there's the third type, is that instead of you checking in the bin, the poor person is gonna check in the bin. You just you giving it away, thinking, trying to be happy about yourself that you give something in charity. So never do this. Never give things away in charity that are not even usable. Like now, alhamdulillah, there are boxes, uh, recycling bins. Just give in recycling bins. That's something else. But you should give in charity the best of things that you have. And the best charity is that you give in charity something that's new. You made 5 kanduras for yourself. Make one for Allah Azza wa Jal. Do it at least once in a year, so that you become from amongst those people who give from what is best of their possessions. But the elite, the only charity they give is what is best that they have. But us being weak, who haven't reached that level, at least we can do it once a year, or once every 2 or 5 years, that you give charity what is new. Give in charity what you have, or fresh food, not leftovers. You bought a mandi, you ate some, and there's some left. You can give in charity, but you can buy 2 meals, one for yourself, one for charity. That is better. So to give from the best part of your wealth, and this is includes zakat al-fitr, when you give from the grains, like rice, and rice has many degrees. They're really expensive types. That what is expected is what you cook in your house, or if you were served, you would eat it. Let's say you buy an expensive grade of rice. That that's good. You have that at your home. There's nothing wrong with that. But let's say you're invited somewhere and they have like 2nd degree or 3rd degree level of rice, and you're the type who would say, oh, I don't like eating such rice. Then you shouldn't give that rice in charity either. So you should give in charity what you and your family are used to eating, not that you overburden yourself by buying above your capacity. You give in what you and your family is used to eating. In this day and age, the end of times, people say they're poor people. They you give them in charity, and they say, what is this? Like even though you can get a lot from 5 dirhams. You can get a paratha, you can get tea, you can get water, you can get chips with just 5 dirhams. It's a big blessing, isn't it? So the 4th etiquette is this is also a very high level of etiquette, um, because as we said, the soul loves wealth. So when you give charity, forget zakat, because that's obligatory. Zakat is wajib. You have to give, and you should be happy, not thinking that as if it's a tax. This is something that's obligatory. This is, and for you, and this actually is a means of expelling a lot of calamities. And a sign that you love to give zakat and sadaqah is that you prepare it. Meaning, let's say you got your salary, you you put that money aside. This is for charity. This is for people who have debts. Meaning, this is clear. It means you're prepared. Also, you're happy when somebody comes and asks you for help. It's true. Some people, unfortunately, they 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 are professional beggars. He himself is opposing the way of the Prophet ﷺ, and they hurt themselves and hurt others. So he says to give in charity with a happy face. So don't give while you're with sad or stern, with a stern face. May Allah protect us from in being in that state. So the fifth etiquette is that you choose to give charity to the one who is most in need and the most pious person. So if you find a person who has both of these, meaning he is most pious and he is most in need, then mashallah, this is from Allah's great favor upon you. Then he mentions like giving it a scholar, a God conscious person, or righteous person, who maybe a person may not be a scholar, but he's a righteous person from the God conscious, in whatever state that he may be. Maybe he might be from the simple people, but he has relatives, he has a big family, and he has a house and children, and he has sisters, and he gives to his aunts and his uncles. And you should give to this person at being at ease. They would make dua to Allah. The wealthy, righteous people would make dua to Allah that Allah gifts them with righteous people who would take their charity. Even though charity is for anyone who's in need, but even somebody who is not in need, it turns into a gift. A gift, it's the hidden intention is charity, but outwardly it can appear as a gift. So if it is somebody who is in need, you get the reward. You get the reward of gifting. If somebody who is in need, you get the reward of charity. So let's say you have charity, and you're not sure whether this person is in need or not in need. There's nothing outwardly manifest. So you give him anyways, with the good intention. So if that person really is in need, you would get the reward of charity completely. But if he is not in need, you would get the reward of giving a gift. And what is the reward of gifting? And the Prophet said the best actions is to put happiness into the heart of a believer. So you put happiness into that person's heart by giving a gift. So Allah Azza wa Jal will give you a gift that will make you happy. On top of that, this gift that you gifted to this person, if he uses that to come close to Allah, you would get the reward of whatever good deeds he does. Like how they say, when you feed, you give iftar to the one who fasted, then you would get the reward of his fast. Even though you didn't give charity, you invited them over to your house, and they're your friends. They're people with jobs, and they're not people who are in need. So outwardly, it's like a gift. It's for love, but you get the reward also of charity, because they take strength from that food to come close to Allah. So those people you invited to your house for iftar, they did iftar, they prayed, they did tarawih, they did qiyamul layl. All the reward of that will be on your scales. They get the reward of their fasting and their prayers. May Allah make us reach Ramadan with ease and well-being and goodness. So there are some other etiquettes. The most deserving people to get your charity are your relatives. So if he is in need, to make them even happy. Also, you need to give charity from halal source of income, not like you take a usurious loan, and you're in a dodgy project where source of income is dodgy, and then you use that money to build a mosque or feed people iftar. The other etiquette is to not think that what you gave is a lot. Meaning, let's say he gave a person 5,000 dirhams, and then don't say, "Oh, do you think this 5,000 is a lot?" Never say it's a lot, but say on the contrary, actually, this is all I can do. I wish I could do more. And never belittle what you receive. Let's say somebody invited you over, and he says, tomorrow there'll be lunch at my place, and you're like imagining, oh well, it's gonna be Mandi, it's gonna be Mansaf, it's gonna be this big meal, and then when you get there, it's just manakish, it's just like small slices of pizza. Don't belittle anything you receive. Never. This is a big flaw in a person, is that you measure people based on what they give you. You don't know, maybe that person, his dinner and lunch is what he is eating himself. Meaning, let's say a person invited you, and you're expecting a big meal to come. Then he gives you something really simple. So don't say that he fell short in hosting me. No, you should have a good opinion. You should say, I'm sure he doesn't have anything except this, and you should make yourself satisfied with what you've received. This is good manners. This requires you to rear yourself, to nurture yourself. The other etiquette is to hasten in giving charity, especially since while you're alive, because Quran has mentioned that many people give in charity when they feel they're about to die. He thinks now this money that he has will not help him. This money is for your children, and now you want to give it spend it all out. You want to make most now? No. This is why the Prophet was, when he was asked which charity gives you the most reward, you give in charity when you're healthy and you're in need of that money. What does it mean? Meaning you're giving charity and you're healthy, because most people give charity when they're sick. They're sick and they're like, take this money, give it to somebody who's. It's true. The hadith says to heal people uh, when you're sick, but that does not mean you give charity only when you're sick. In fact, charity protects you from sickness. What is better? You give charity and you're protected from sickness, or you wait to get sick and then you give charity? Of course, they say prevention is better than cure. The treatment is going to cost you, it's going to take a lot of that time, and you go America, you go here and there for the treatment. So give charity while you're healthy, while you're at ease. If you were to give something like this cashew, that's enough. It doesn't mean you have to give the entire plate. This is from Allah's mercy. Somebody says, I'm only going to accept charity if I get a full bowl. The Prophet said, fear the hellfire even if it's by a one half of a date. So give charity when you're healthy, when you're healthy, and when you're at ease, not when you have problems. Like how people give charity when they want to expel harm, which is okay, but you should give charity before the harm even comes. And what does it mean, shahi? That you are in need of that money. You have wage, you have your bills, your expenses, your gas, your electricity bill, your telephone bill. So you have all of these expenses. Somebody, let's say there's 500 dirhams, and somebody comes, you give from that. Now that does not mean you give all of your wealth, because this is the right. And let's say if your wealth is for yourself, then that's another thing. But if you have wealth, then and you have a family, uh, because that means you have wealth that you are entrusted to, and it should be given to the people who have right over that wealth. So if you fall short in providing for them, then you are in some ways somebody who's stolen their money, because Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who's ordered you to pay for them, and He's given you the money, and He's like, this is your salary, and this is for your children and your wife. In fact, you're being given risk through them. And if I were to actually take your account for your sins, I wouldn't even give you a single penny. These are etiquettes that by which you deal with Allah. You give charity while you're healthy and well-being and you're in need of that money. Also, from the etiquettes of charity, giving charity, as we mentioned, to give different types of charity. For instance, like let's say we start with how can we do different types of charity. Like let's say uh, you pay off a debt of a person. Let's say you pay off someone's debt, or you pay someone's bill. So instead of you let's say buying a box of chocolates for 500 dirhams, you give him 500 dirhams in cash because you're giving money to help him to pay his bills, pay his expenses. Or you buy something small like a small gift and give wealth money on top of that. So have different types of charities. You give charity in food, in water, in carrying people's like he had have to carry their goods or taking them from one place to another to help your fellow brother Muslim, or even if they want an advice, they give because the Prophet ﷺ said, calling to good is a type of charity. The last thing is that, or before that, from the benefits of charity, is that is is that it prevents 70 types of calamities. One charity. If you do all of these conditions that you're sincere and etc., one one charity, even if it's like the form of this cashew, it can prevent 70 types of calamities. The least of which is leprosy, and that's the least. And what do you have? How many are left? 69. Is the least calamity is that you won't get leprosy and the other skin disease. And we ask Allah that He protects us from all of these forms of illnesses. And what is the best time to give charity? Is to give charity early in the morning. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, give charity early in the morning because then the calamities will not come down upon you. They'll be taken away from you. This is referred to as charity in the first part of the day. This is available in some places where they take some charity from you. So if this obviously requires somebody to have a high aspiration, meaning when he goes to the mosque, he takes with him at least a cup of water, or some dates, or some biscuits, and he gives it to anyone. It will be considered a form of charity. Or you buy a crate of water and you place it before the mosque. And it's water that somebody can drink, like something that's cold or close to cold, not like hot water or something of that sort. So you give charity, even if it's like one date or something sweet like a biscuit, or if you give the people who help the mosque, the servants of the mosque, or when you go to work. So just by merely making these intentions that if I find someone in need, I'll give this, I'll give that. We ask Allah that He does not deprive us of being able to give in charity and giving in zakat, that He forgives us and makes us benefit, bless us in our wealth, in our families, and all the living Muslims, our parents, and that Allah accepts from us all the charities that we've given and all the different types of charities we've given. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He pardons us if we ever showed that we're doing them a favor, or we were stingy in giving and we weren't in need of something and the others were in need of it. We ask forgiveness from Allah. We ask Allah that He puts the wealth in our hands and not in our hearts. Oh Allah, do not deprive us from the reward of charity, and when we meet You and You are pleased with us after a long and life in ease and well-being. Al-Fatiha. Allahumma salli wa sallim al-Fatiha.
المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الأخ محمد وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته وجزاكم الله خير. كذلك محمد اليافعي وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته وجزاكم الله خير. الأخ نوفل حياكم الله. الأخت مفيدة المحجوب عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته وبارك فيكم. كذلك السيد عادل الهاشمي، الحمد لله على العود الحميد لهذه الدروس يا رب، وجزاكم الله خير المتابعة. يقول كيف يعلم العبد أن أدى ما عليه لشكر النعم دائما؟
How can one arrive at a point where he feels that he has paid off, or he has shown gratitude as he should show? And you should always have that feeling that you fall short, and you fall short in showing gratitude, and you should always be in that fear that you're not accepted. And from the sign of gratitude and degree of gratitude is that you see that the real favor is from Allah and you haven't done anything. Whatever blessing you have is from Allah. Yeah. If you have any questions to ask Habib privately, you can send it on his email, owayse@gmail.com.